Alright guys, it is I, Isabella, and today we have another book related video, and it's gonna be a tier ranking. Now I know I usually do tier rankings for my movies and TV show stuff, but I thought it would be fun to branch out and do some other kinds of tier lists, because tier lists are super fun and they could be applied to anything. So I thought, why not try with books? So yeah, this video is going to be a tier ranking of all the fantasy books, not science fantasy, not science fiction, just fantasy. So yeah, I'm going to rank all of the fantasy books that I have read, that I have on my Goodreads read list. So yeah, those are the ones I remember reading.
Okay, so we are going to start this by going over the tiers, because this time they're a little bit different, but I always go over the tiers anyway, so let's just do that. So we have the top tier, which is 5 out of 5 favorites. So these are books that I thought were like pretty much perfect, and I would reread them again and again. Second tier is 4 out of 5 so good. So these are books that I really enjoyed, but they weren't like an all-time favorite, but they were books that I really enjoyed. 3.5 out of 5 okay. This section is for like the books that were not awful, but they were just okay. They were like interesting, but not really addictive. And 3 out of 5 were books that really disappointed me. Were just on the verge of being kind of bad. Just an experience I didn't really enjoy. And then, yeah, bad is like 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5. So, yeah, this is how I pretty much rate my books on Goodreads. So, yeah, let's just get started. So, the first book we're going to start with is King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. This series it's a duology. It's part of the Shadow and Bone universe, and I really enjoyed this duology. Did I like it more than the original trilogy? No. But this was so good that after I finished the first book in the duology, I had to go get the second one. Even though I had the first book in paperback and the other book wasn't out in paperback yet, only hardcover. So now I have a weird hardcover on my shelf, but I don't care. This book was so good, it was worth buying the hardcover. I loved seeing the same characters from Shadow and Bone again. I loved getting a continuing story with them. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience. The world of Shadow and Bone is just amazing. And we even got some characters from Six of Crows in here, which wasn't my favorite part of the book, but it definitely had a purpose, and it was good. I really loved this series. Next is Deathless by Catherine M. Vellante, I think. And this book was, from what I remember, it's based on some Russian or some kind of Russian mythology, I think. And this was when I was in my Shadow and Bone era. So I was just like looking for other stuff to watch. I believe I rated this 4 stars. I really had a fun time with this, but it was at certain bits not a lot happened, but then at other bits lots happened. it basically starts with this girl, Maria Marevna, and if you guys know the story, she basically gets taken by Death, I guess, is what he is. In the beginning of the story, she doesn't have much agency. Then she gets more agency towards the end. It's kind of like a kind of doomed-ish love story, and I really dug it. I just like these stories with the innocent young girl and this like powerful, tall, dark, and handsome dude. Totally got that from Shadow and Bone. But yeah, I love that. Next is The Cruel Prince, which I really enjoyed. It was so good. The way Holly Black writes her prose is so fantastical, and it reminds me of how classics used to be written, like how books used to be written, and that kind of style of writing. And it really just put me even more into this whole magical world with the Fae and all of that. It really made it feel even more like a fairy tale kind of atmosphere, and I really loved that. And so thank you, Holly Black, for this series. The Cruel Prince series overall was really good, and yeah, it's not a romance-centric story, but it still had the romance sprinkled in there. But I like the court intrigue, and I got that. So I was very happy with this book. I enjoyed it. Jude and Carden were, like, really, really great. I liked their characters, and I loved quite a few of the characters in here. But yeah, anyway. Next book is Peter Pan, about the boy who never grew up, took Wendy and her brothers to Neverland, and then the whole story, you guys know how it goes. Yeah. I really liked how this was written. So another so good book. Again, the prose, the way this was written, it was so whimsical, and it just transported me. And it really felt like a magical book. It felt like you were being swept into Neverland, and that's what you want. You want a book that's written in a way that really transports you, and that's what that did for me. And I think Deathless also, the way it was written was very magical as well. And so yeah, the writing style is sometimes very important to how I experience a book and enjoy a book. Next is North Queen by Nicola Tyke. Now, this series I haven't completed yet, but from what I've read so far, this is like top tier for me almost. Yeah, I rated all of these 5 stars. It has everything I love: court intrigue, politics, romance, with this like young, like, not young, but she's like an innocent girl, but she's a princess, and then her and the king of the Shadow Realm have to like make an alliance against a bigger threat, and she has memory loss, and it's just really good. There's always something happening, you're never bored, and those are the kinds of stories that I really like, and I just fell in love with some of these characters. It made me feel the way Shadow and Bone's characters, how I connected to those characters. It was just, I love it. I read the book mostly for the characters, not even the story, but the story is really good. Next is Unearthly, which was one of my first series I ever read in the fantasy genre, and at the time I really loved this. But looking back on it now, based on the other stuff that I've read, it's not that amazing. So I would say this goes in the okay, 3.5 out of 5. it's basically a girl who, like, she's an angel, but she lives on Earth with her mom in a small town. She's going to high school, and this guy comes into her life who I think's also an angel, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't read this in so long, I don't remember. But yeah, as soon as he comes into her life, lots of chaos is going on, and yeah, there's a conflict in here that doesn't have to do completely with romance, but there is a romance conflict. I think there's a love triangle in here. But yeah, it was an okay series for the time that I read it. I think it was an enjoyable time when I didn't know what better fantasy was, but it wasn't terrible, it wasn't disappointing, and it wasn't bad, so I put it in the okay. Next is Shadow and Bone. You guys all know how I feel about this series. It is perfection. People either love it or don't really like it, and that's fine. I love it enough for all the people in the world who don't. For me, a book is all about the world, the plot, and the characters. And all three of those boxes were ticked with this book. It had all my favorite tropes. It had just everything. The love triangle was a bit meh. I don't like love triangles, but I was okay with it. But yeah. I love the main character of Alina, even though people don't really like her that much. I like Mal. Also like the Darkling, even though he can be a bit of a psycho. But yeah, this series was just really fun. I love the whole light and dark magic kind of powers going head to head. And I love the whole the politics in here, and the whole discussion about how power changes people I really liked. But yeah, I can't put it into words how much I love this book. But yeah, that's what I can say. Next is Six of Crows, which I do think is so good, but I also think it's a favorite, but I wouldn't read it every year. So I'm going to put it in the so good tier, because Six of Crows is also a duology in the Shadow and Bone universe / the Grishaverse, and everyone typically likes Six of Crows more than Shadow and Bone. And I agree that the writing is better in Six of Crows than it is in Shadow and Bone, but yeah, Six of Crows is just following a gang of younger people as they're, like, in this world trying to make a name for themselves, kind of, and it's really got, like, lots of found family trope. It's got some great little slow burns in there, specifically between two people. And yeah, I really enjoyed that too. The slow burn in Six of Crows was really good. It takes a lot for me to like a slow burn. And so for the fact that the single fact that the slow burn was done in a way that I absolutely loved it, even though the romance wasn't, like, front and center, I just love this story. Even the plot was really interesting, and I recommend it. Next is The Shadows Between Us, which is by Trisha Levenseller. This one I read because I was interested in it. Would I put it in okay, or would I put it in so good? I think I'd put it in okay. It wasn't as meh as Unearthly. I did enjoy it, but I don't know. Maybe it was the way it was executed that I didn't really enjoy. But yeah, it's about this girl. I think her name is Alexandra. I'm not sure. I kind of haven't read this in a while. But yeah, she's going to try and marry and kill the Shadow King in order to get the throne and save her family from kind of like a almost like ruin, kind of. So I liked it, but I didn't like love it. But it's not like a bad book. A 3.5 out of 5 is not bad. It just means that I enjoyed it, but it wasn't a book that I was thinking of that much after I finished it. So it's gonna go here. I'm gonna put it in front of this because it was better than this one. Anyway, if you think that sounds interesting, cool. The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. This is the duology that's part of the Cruel Prince universe, and this is top tier. I love this more than the Cruel Prince. I loved getting to see Oak and Surin as like older, because we only get to see them as children in the Cruel Prince, and the tension between these two is palpable. It is so good. It is stretched out so long. You feel the yearning, and I loved it. I love these two. I loved every little moment that we got with them. The story started as a quest story and then became more political intrigue in the second book. And I loved both of them. Even though I don't really like adventure books where they go on a quest, I absolutely ate this up. And I love Surin and Oak probably more than Jude and Cardan, which is probably blasphemy. But yeah. Oh, it was so good. And the fairy tales by the Brothers Grimm. These were okay. They weren't bad. They weren't so good that I was thinking about them afterwards. But yeah, I haven't read them all. But from what I've read so far, they were interesting. The prose was, again, very whimsical, so that was like a good read. But yeah, I don't really think about them now that after I've read them, so yeah. So next book is Switched by Amanda Hocking, and she was also an author that I found when I was starting to read fantasy. And this book, I would say, was also okay before I knew what like really good fantasy was. But yeah, Switched is just about this girl who has perfectly normal human parents, but then she like finds out that she's actually a changeling and that her mother, her real mother, is actually queen of this other land, and so she's a princess. And her father is kind of like the villain of the story. Him and her mother are like separated, and yeah, there's a lot of fun. There's like a love triangle in here. It was interesting. I had fun with it. I say I have fun with everything. I do. Okay, Red Queen. This series, the first book was so good, and then the last books were just... I'm gonna put this in either okay or disappointing. The first book was the best, but if I'm judging it by series, I would say it was a bit disappointing. I really wanted to love this series, and certain things that happened towards the end and certain things that happened, like certain books just moved really slow and I was not enjoying them. And I felt like the series didn't need 4 books. It could have done well with 3. So yeah, reading those 4 books to get a certain ending I didn't love. But yeah, the series is basically about like these different blooded people. There's red-blooded and silver-blooded. The silver-blooded are like the elite ruling class and they treat the red-blooded people like crap. But yeah, the silver people have powers and the red people don't. But then there's this girl with red blood who gets these powers, like, that develop, and the king basically tries to cover this up and make it seem like she's some long lost princess when really she's not. And there's a love triangle between her and the two prince brothers. So yeah. Then The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. This one I felt was okay. I enjoyed reading it. The writing style was not anything really amazing. But the story itself was really original for the time, and I liked the whole magic witches, Dorothy coming from Kansas to this new world and making all these friends and going on a quest to meet the wizard and be able to go home. And it was fun. But no more than that. I wasn't really thinking about it after I read it, so it was just a fun journey to go on, but that's it. Next is Scarred by Emily McIntyre. This is a dark romance, and this is the only book in her Never After series that is in a fantasy setting. And this I would put in the favorites. God tier, definitely. It's basically a fractured fairy tale of The Lion King from Disney, and basically the villains are the main characters, so Scar is the main character. And I absolutely loved it. It was so good. It's set in this like Regency period, in this like original kingdom, and I really loved it. It was so interesting. There was always something going on. There's an uprising, there's forbidden romance, and I loved every second of this book. Now the last book, many of you might not know even what this is, and this is Arthur and the Minimoys by Luc Besson. And as a book, I felt like it was okay. I enjoyed reading it. I've seen the films, so I knew pretty much the story beat for beat, so that's why I'm putting it in the okay section, because I've already read it. I mean, I've already seen the story unfold in movie form, so it was basically almost the same thing. And I love the movies, even though people laugh at the bad CG nowadays. I really liked the story, and yeah, the whole having a civilization in your like garden that you're not aware of, and all these little people living there. It's just so fun and like so different. I felt like it was a great experience. Maybe if I had read the book first, I would put it in the so good category. But then again, Peter Pan was also a movie first and then read the book. And I don't know. But yeah, the writing style alone in Peter Pan was enough to put it in the so good. So that is it. I don't have a single bad book, which is surprising.
Alright guys, so that is it for this video / tier ranking. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, like always, please like this video so I know to keep making more tier rankings. And specifically book ones. I could do more of these, if you guys want. Please comment down below, what is your favorite fantasy series? And please subscribe if you want to see more bookish content or movie content, just entertainment content. So, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.